What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I want to break down what's happening to the market so far, what data is coming out for tomorrow, and what the news is saying about Tesla thus far. But before I break anything down about what's going on with the technicals and how Tesla is looking, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. This offer ends in just about 1 day from now. It ends tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the markets. Tesla was up over 6% for the day today during the open hours. Now it's up another 1% during the after hours, continuing to hold up, continuing to show some strength. But the question now remains, what is going to affect Tesla? What is going to affect the markets? And the answer, firstly, is going to be PPI tomorrow morning. An hour before the market opens, the PPI report comes out. We want this to be very close to expectations. PPI is just like CPI, except from the producer side. It's another important inflationary measure which the Fed will look at, and it's going to be very important. So these are the two main metrics of PPI. PPI on the core side of things, or core PPI year over year, should be around 2.7%. That's what the market wants to see, or below that. And then PPI year over year should be around 2.2% or below that. That's what the market wants to see. If we get some decent data, this could help the market continue to hold up nicely and try to push up higher. If the data is hotter than expected, this could slow the market down a bit. Now, looking at the last reports from PPI and also from the last CPI report and etc., there's a good chance that this is going to be very close to expectations or even below that, as that's what the trend has been for the last couple of months. So there's a good chance we'll get a decent PPI. Let's hope for the best, and that could be good for the markets. We also have Barr giving a speech at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, then Barkin at 3:30 p.m. Not to mention at 11:30 a.m. we have the 17-week bill auction, so we'll be watching this all very, very carefully. Now, one thing worth noting is SPY has over 3 million or almost 3 million puts expiring on Friday, and we also have about 1.3 million or just like almost that many calls expiring. So we have a lot of puts expiring, a 2.22 puts to call ratio. We'll be watching to see how this affects the markets. If anything, the market makers are incentivized to try to hold the market up. So we'll be watching this very carefully. When it comes to more data affecting the markets, I just want to call out that if you're interested in these earnings, Target has earnings tomorrow morning, not to mention a couple of other companies like TJ Maxx. And then for Thursday, we have Walmart, Alibaba, Macy's, and Ross announcing their earnings. The fear and greed index is becoming neutral. It's finally starting to shift, and we're seeing greed taking over market momentum as buyers are stepping in, and we're seeing the short squeeze perpetuate because a lot of the shorts are closing their positions, and we're starting to see buyers stepping in. On top of this, Tesla had about 150 million in volume almost, which is not bad. Good volume is coming into Tesla. And there was this news right here about their growth. Right now, Tesla's in between growth waves right now. This is what tends to happen when they introduce new products, and they're in that stage where basically they hit that plateau, and then the next growth phase kind of like has a slow start before becoming stronger over time. So that's what tends to happen to Tesla, especially when they have new products and they're trying to improve. Their volume is going to increase, but it's not going to increase consistently. There are going to be instances where the volume is increasing much faster than other instances. I think that they're hitting a phase where it's starting to like decrease the rate for the time being until they start to build more factories and they start to improve other like parts of their factories as well. So they're reaching a plateau. This is one thing I read online, but that does not mean that it's a low plateau. This next growth phase coming to Tesla could take even longer, and we'll see what happens to them as time goes on. So I'm still very confident in what Tesla's going to be doing. I'm very confident in their future. One of the things Elon Musk talked about during earnings was the fact that the 50% growth rate is not always going to be happening. It's not sustainable, at least for the long term. But the bottom line is, can Tesla continue to produce more cars and maintain their targets? I believe the answer is yes. So that makes me still very excited for the longer term. I just want to call out the fact that growth plateaus, are a real thing that affects Tesla. Now, moving forward, the price price ratio is going up because Tesla stock is gaining strength. It's becoming stronger than the markets. Wednesdays have a tendency of being green 48% of the time historically. And then don't forget that Thursdays tend to be green about 48% of the time. So make sure you're ready for all of this. This is going to be very important. Don't forget that November tends to be a bullish month, especially towards the ending. And then don't forget, we tend to see more volatility during the second hour of the day at 11, also at noon, and then also at 2 p.m. And that's pretty much it for data. Financial estimates still remain strong. I actually have some headlines right here. You guys can see them right here. Nothing too crazy going on with the news so far. So don't forget, we have PPI data coming out for tomorrow. That's going to be very important. We will see how this affects Tesla. Now, if we're bearish, let's just go over all of the possibilities before I talk about the technicals. If PPI is hot, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict what the data is going to look like. But if we get a very hot PPI, this could cause Tesla to cool off. Maybe it like gaps up and then drops, kind of like starts popping and then dropping. If we're bearish, you want to see Tesla come back down to 235, 236, and 235. If we lose that, watch for 232 and then 230. If we're bullish, you want to see this break out from the bullish wedge and break above 242. If we manage to break and hold that, we have some tight resistance there since that's where the gap is. 245 is next. What do I think is going to happen, guys? Well, here's my answer. When you look at Tesla, especially on the daily time frame, Tesla has a bullish looking daily setup. Volume is going up, the MACD looks bullish, and we have this unfilled gap at 242. So I believe Tesla's going to fill this gap very soon. We're going to hit some tight resistance there. We'll see if Tesla could break 242 or not. If it breaks it, watch for 245. But if anything, I do anticipate a bit more upside at the very least. So this does favor the bulls more. There's going to likely be more upside coming. But just to be safe, even though technicals suggest this, even though the charts suggest this, we'll be watching to see what the data tells us for tomorrow, if it gives us confirmation of this move or not. All right. So I'm always open-minded. I can't promise what's going to happen tomorrow because it depends on the data. So that's why, like, in case you guys like took big risks on your like trades or something like that, I'm not giving financial advice. I can't always promise anything. And when big pieces of economic data come out like this, you never know what could happen. But I just want to note that from a technical standpoint, based off technical analysis and based off the momentum we're building, the odds do favor more upside for Tesla. That is more probable looking at this chart in the present, right? It looks like Tesla's going to make its way up to 242 and maybe even above this if it keeps going. For SPY, I just want to call out the bullish wedge that is developing. If this continues to hold up very nicely and we break out, if PPI is decent, look for this thing to try to break 450. If we break this, there's some resistance at 451, but it's not that strong. The stronger resistance is going to be 452.25. We're going to push all the way up there if we break 450 and we hold above it. If we're bearish, we get some bad data, watch this thing come down to 447.5. If we lose that, it could get very close to 445. In my opinion, with the bullish wedge, technicals suggest we're going to try to fight for 450 and try to break it. So the odds do favor trying to break above that. But just to be safe, we have to watch for confirmation. So let's see if this thing breaks 450. If we do so, this is going to complete the wedge. We're going to get a breakout to 452. If it fails, then that could be a rejection that's coming in case the data is not the best. We'll be watching this test very carefully. It does favor it trying to break it, but just to be safe, we'll be watching for confirmation. For the QQQ, if we're bearish, you want to see this thing break below this area and then end up losing 383.5. If we lose that support, it's going to come back down to 382. If that fails us, 380 is next. That's the more bearish case if we get bad data tomorrow. If we get good data and this thing starts pushing up higher, we have tight resistance historically at 388 to 390. 388 is what we're going to be watching. So what does this look like? We have a bullish wedge developing. We're seeing buyers stepping in, and with Nvidia, Apple, Tesla, and these other tech stocks holding up nicely, the odds do favor this trying to push the QQQ up higher towards that 388 target. With the bullish wedge, technicals suggest more upside. However, I'm not going to promise it. We have to watch the data first and a break of our resistance just for confirmation to see if 386.25 breaks. On Nvidia, we have a bullish wedge developing. Now, if we're bearish on Nvidia after the data comes out and etc., you want to see 495 break. If we lose that, watch for a test of 490. If that fails, it's going to come down to 488, then 485. We also have a gap down there at 486. If we're bullish, however, if this thing starts pushing up higher, you want to see this break out of this resistance at 498 to 498.5 and try to test 450. not 450, sorry, 500. I don't know what I just said. 500 would be next. If we break 500, 504 would be the next level. And we also have this trend line up here of resistance all the way up to this like 510 area, 515 area if we continue to break out. In my opinion, this looks bullish. The technicals do favor the upside, Nvidia trying to get up to at least 500 plus. But just to be safe, let's see if we can try to get above 500. And let's see if the data supports that. All right. So once again, I'm not saying the chart will go up for sure. I'm not saying it's going to go down for sure. Don't just trade based off what I'm saying. I'm simply saying that it depends on the data, it depends on the tests, but technicals, just looking at the chart, it does look like it wants to go higher. Just to be safe, let's wait and see if we get that confluence from the data that's coming out. For Apple, if we're bearish, you want to see this thing lose 186. If we lose 186, it's going to be coming down to 185.5 and 185. If we lose that, we're going to sink even lower. If we're bullish, you want to see this like this new development of the channel to develop and continue. If this breaks, I'm going to be watching for a push for 188, and then we have some tight resistance up there. In my opinion, the odds favor this thing trying to hold this wedge and like uptrend and then push up towards this 188 area. That's what technicals are suggesting. But just to be safe, we'll be waiting to see how the data looks. For something else, such as, and I think I actually went over the main five, but those are just a couple of them I wanted to go over. Now, just for a couple of other ones, I'm going to try to be kind of quick with the ending for this part. SoFi has a very, very nice looking bullish structure developing on the chart. The daily is turning more bullish. We're about to get a bullish cross in the PPO, and the 4-hour time frame is suggesting that we have a very, very nice looking structure that's curling. It's going to be testing 7.68. If we break this, look for an imbalance fill at $8. That's the bullish case. The bearish case would be a retest of 7.19. It is looking like it wants to make its way up towards 7.68 and $8, but just to be safe, let's see if the data helps it. It does look more bullish. Now, at least based off technicals. On Microsoft, this thing, it made a little high during the pre-market and just kind of traded flat for the day. It has, a bearish divergence that's still developing. And if this thing pops a little higher, you're going to be looking for 375 and then a rejection, or 373 could be it. So it could pop a bit more than reject. On SPY, I just wanted to remind you all that the bearish divergence has been invalidated after this pump, which suggests that the technicals don't show us breaking down yet. That's why I'm still like starting to lean in a different direction now. Charts could flip. Sometimes it happens with new data, so it is what it is. Same thing on the QQQ. The bearish divergence on the 4-hour has been invalidated. So it's not going to necessarily tank or do anything like that for now, but we'll be watching to see how data affects. I just want to clarify that for the time being. On the VIX, we're looking bearish. This favors the bulls a bit more for the equities markets, for SPY and Tesla. The daily is looking bearish for now, so watch 14 as support. The SQQQ is continuing to fall. There's no sign of a bounce yet. So we have a gap to fill, but we haven't necessarily bottomed yet. There's no sign of it at 16. So we'll be watching that very carefully. The dollar index is testing 104 as support. If we lose this, we'll be watching 103.5, then 103. We'll be watching that very carefully. Coinbase is looking kind of flat right now. We might actually backtest the 4-hour 50 EMA, or very close to this like 88 area, then bounce. So look for 88 and then some sideways price action. I think it might test at that level. On Google, we're up 1.34%. We're going to be looking for either, since it had a bearish divergence, it's trying to invalidate it. It might push a little higher for 140 and then reject. So look for a little bit more upside of 137.5 breaks, and then 140 is a real possibility. For the 10-year Treasury yield, it's looking a bit more bearish, which is bullish for the market. We have a head and shoulders like pattern. This favors upside for equities. We'll be watching that carefully. Amazon is looking like it has a bearish divergence, looking not the strongest. I think that either 147.5 is it, or it goes a little higher to like 115, then it might reject. So look for a little bit more upside before a potential rejection. And Meta is looking like it might pop a bit more towards 340 than reject. I say that because of the fact that it's very overbought right now. We could see 340 then a rejection, so watch that very carefully. And we'll see how it goes from now. But if anything, if it just tries to keep going, I would say that there's more upside coming. We could be watching for 340. And let's see if it could break or not. It could reject off that level, so just be very careful. But it's going to pump a little bit first before any potential rejections. All right, so I wanted to make this video quick. Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, and peace out.